Facebook family. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Live at 5 on Facebook, you guys. Running a little tardy, you know what's up. But anyway, I'm here and you're here. And who's first through the door? Hey, Pam. Hey, Michael. I appreciate you guys being right there at the door, like that Mervin's commercial, right? Where the lady's at the window and she's going, open, 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 open. So listen, I'm here. I'm here and welcome. Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Live at 5 on Facebook. Welcome to my forever faithful Facebook family and my YouTube subbies. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for stopping in. And now that you're here, for those of you that are, you know what I need you to do. I need you to go ahead and share this on your Facebook timeline. I've got some, this is like action-packed, you guys. This is going to be like Rock'em Sock'em Robots today. I have so much stuff I want to talk to you guys about. And today, normally when I come visit with you guys, I normally like to just, get in and get out, right? Spend about 30 minutes just catching you up on the week's events. But today, Facebook family, YouTube subbies, I may go over a little bit. So listen. Hey, James, we need to talk, James. I want to get together with you and I want to do something with you here on my Facebook Live, if you're cool with that, sir, James Farr. I want to bring you on and I want to chop it up with you. Hey, David, but what was I saying? Yeah, so listen, hey, Barry, and listen, Barry, the picture with the smile works for me. Hope it works for you. Got a lot to talk about. I need you guys to settle in. Get a cup of water. I want you to stay hydrated. Hey, Shaz, greetings from Trinidad, sister girl. When are you coming back? I miss you. Safe travels whenever you do. Yeah, I need you to stay hydrated. I got a lot going on and I'm going to try to stay hydrated and I'm going to try to keep my nose from running too. I got so much going on here, you guys. I have, in addition to, the behind the scenes stuff that you guys know nothing about, I got lights going, I got ceiling fan, I got ladies, personal summers jumping off. So just bear with me. But need you to do a couple of things. Number one, share this on your timeline so that others can see, because I'm going to be doing some updates on AB 392, you guys. We're in crunch time. And I need you to do some stuff. And I want you, especially my California family, I want you to make sure that you share this on your timeline. And listen, just because you don't live in California doesn't mean that you don't have people who are here in California. And this whole AB 392, when police officers can use deadly force, is about to come to a boil, you guys. And there's some stuff that you need to do. And I'm going to be sharing that with you. On yesterday, Tuesday, my podcast dropped, right? Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, every podcast platform available to man and womankind. Sergeant Dorsey Speaks is there. So I need you to go over to the podcast platform of your choice and download yesterday's podcast. There's some information on there that you won't get here. And listen, tell a friend, hashtag tell a friend. Let me say this, you guys. Last week, you guys did your thing. And I am so grateful because my Facebook Live last week was shared, I think it was like over, 100 times, something crazy. Shared over 100 times, viewed over 1.6 thousand, right? 1,600 plus. Folks got a chance to see Sergeant Dorsey Speaks on yesterday. And so I appreciate your dedication and your commitment to helping folks know that there is somebody out there who's speaking the way that I'm speaking. And so I'm asking you again, let's do that thing again this week. Let's share this everywhere and anywhere. And for those of you who may be so inclined, you can also create a watch party. Might be asking a lot for the older set, right? But there's a thing that you can do on Facebook, where you can create a watch party and you can invite people to come join your party there. So do that as well. And listen, let me do this. Let me thank my podcast producer, Kay Rose from Get Global Network, who has been doing an amazing job week after week with me on my podcast. And listen, when I first started with this podcast, and he suggested that I do this really a couple of years ago, and I was like, who wants to hear from me? And we had a little catchy title, and it was gonna have something to do with 15 minutes with Sergeant Dorsey, right? And I was like, dude, 15 minutes? I can't talk for 15 minutes. Are you kidding me? And now I yammer on for close to an hour on my podcast. There's just so much going on. And thank you, Kay Rose. Thank you, Get Global Network, for your weekly contribution, for making my podcasts sound good, look good. I appreciate you. So I wanted to acknowledge Kay Rose. And listen, Get Global Network also has a Facebook page. So anybody who wants to know a little bit more about Get Global Network, anybody who may be interested in creating a podcast of your own. Okay, Kay Rose, so I'm creating some work for you. But if you have an interest, reach out to Kay Rose over at Get Global Network and let him hook you up. Okay? I know that there are a lot of new folks that are here and seeing me. And so today, you guys are going to get Sergeant Dorsey, but you're also going to get just Cheryl. You're going to get Cheryl today. And I'm going to just talk, just from the hip, right? Yeah, I'm shooting from the hip today. I'm going to be talking about some things that I normally don't talk about because, listen, this is stepping out on this platform, on this stage as a police officer was very disconcerting in the beginning because, I think cops instinctively are just very private people. And so it was very difficult to share, some aspects of my life. And you guys know I'm not 100% there, right? Because you see, when I talk about my kids, I refer to them as 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Yeah, so it's very difficult. But nonetheless, last week I had someone who just heard of me, and we met last week, joined my Facebook Live, and I think it was a female, and I don't remember the name because I don't remember the name, having a senior moment. But she asked me, who are you? And at first it was kind of funny to me because, there's no tone in text, right? And so when she typed in, who are you? This is my first time here. I kind of chuckled, and then I thought about it, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And so I know this is redundant, stuff many of you already know, but I'm just going to tell you who I am. I want you to know, first-time visitors, who I am. And so who I am is, I am Frankie and Zango's baby girl. I am their only child. I am the mother to Lizelle, Darnell, Malik, and Ballew. I am the grandmother. And listen, I got a blended family. So I'm the old woman who lived in the shoe. Hang on, I'm going to name them all if I can. Dominique, Gregory, Omarion, Christy, Donovan, Keon, Corey, Kyla, Kylie, Kai, and I am great grandma to Kamari. So that's who I am, you guys. I am also a retired LAPD sergeant, 20 years, veteran sergeant on the Los Angeles Police Department, started under the command of Daryl Francis Gate. Let me just say that, because when I say Daryl Francis Gate, that means something. You guys understand that I was there when LAPD was rough and tumble, right? And I survived that situation. I am also an author. I'm a speaker. I am a social justice advocate. I am a fighter. I'm a friend. Speaking of me being the author, I have written 3 books for those of you who want to know who I am. The first book that I wrote is called The Creation of a Manifesto, and this is in the Black and Blue series. I've written 3 books in this series, and I started off in 2013. I'm going to just give you the Reader's Digest version. 2013, Christopher Dorner, fired LAPD officer, lost his mind, went on a killing spree. And everybody, some LAPD folks on here right now know that we were kind of really hoping that he was going to make it through that situation. But we also knew that that was unlikely. And so while we were watching the manhunt, which lasted about 9 days, I knew that the police department and the media was going to continue to try to discredit and devalue Christopher Dorner, say he was crazy and you can't believe his manifesto and all the stuff that he was saying that was going on the LAPD and the things that happened to him were nonsensical. And so I don't know Christopher Dorner, and let me say this, I do not condone murder. Christopher Dorner murdered 4 people who had nothing to do with his angst. But I understood how Christopher Dorner got there because I understood how LAPD and other large bureaucracies can drive you to do a thing that may not be in your nature to do. So I just decided to write my own story, my autobiography, The Creation of a Manifesto, about how LAPD will grind you down and wind you down and make you do that awful thing that Christopher Dorner did. And I did it because I also wanted police officers who might have an opportunity to read my book and hear my story, know that, listen, if you find yourself similarly situated, you don't get to kill people. There's a process and there are ways to deal with that system because I dealt with it. I went through everything Christopher Dorner talked about in his manifesto. But I went through it 15 years before Christopher Dorner came out with this manifesto. And so that was the genesis behind this first book in the Black and Blue series. Now, listen, when I wrote this first book, I was hot about my own personal experiences. And so there was a lot of profanity, y'all, because, you know, cops are potty mouths, right? And me too. So over time, I met an amazing gentleman who has a marketing team who got behind me and developed a campaign for me, which I now do as I speak around the nation, Comply and Complain, my speaking tour. And one of the things that I had to do was I had to make it PG-13. So I came out with a revised version, and this isn't it. I came out with the revised version of Volume 1, and it's Volume 2. So Volume 1 is no longer available. For anybody who got the potty mouth version, consider yourself lucky. It doesn't exist anymore. I took it off the shelf because, listen, I wanted my book to reach young people, and I didn't want to be off-putting with my vocabulary, if you will, and didn't want to offend, Mother Jones if, the Greater Tabernacle of you name a church decided to have me come and speak to the congregants. So I came out with the revised version, Volume 2, Black and Blue, changed the title, obviously changed the cover. You can see the difference between the two. Black and Blue, Creation of a Manifesto, Black and Blue, Creation of a Social Advocate. And in the Creation of a Social Advocate, I have I have all of the same chapters in the first version, and I added a whole bunch of stuff because there had been about 5 years between the time that I wrote Volume 1 and I published Volume 2. So there are many differences between them, but the first, 6 or 7, 25 chapters are the same. So you're not missing out. For those of you who want to get Volume 1, The Creation of a Manifesto doesn't exist, but Volume 1 is contained in Volume 2. And then, of course, you guys have heard me speak about my saga with LAUSD. So then that prompted me to come out with yet my third book that I published, Black and Blue, in this series, The Creation of a Whistleblower. And I came out with The Creation of a Whistleblower because of my own dealings with being harassed, retaliated against, understanding that whistleblower protection doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist on the police department, and it certainly doesn't exist at the Los Angeles Unified School District. So again, I wanted to kind of help folks who may be going through some issues at work to know what it is that you could do to understand that you're not going to change that system. Because listen, I wrote this book fully understanding I am not about to change LAPD or LAUSD, but what I wanted to do was put both of them on notice, particularly LAUSD, as they tried to make me roadkill. And so I just wanted to let them know, and for those of you that are on Facebook with me, you understand I posted something the other day. I'm not going away quietly into the good night, because that's just who I am. So, okay, James, I see you. Anybody, if you want to chime in, appreciate that, and I will try to respond as I see it. So James, we'll talk about that whole police, Pasadena PD, because it says here that James asked, Pasadena police chief about his thoughts on contempt of cop. Would love to know what he had to say. And if you have a minute, James, and you could type that in there, I would love to know what the police chief had to say and respond to that. And really, truthfully, I would love to sit down with the police chief in Pasadena. I don't expect that to happen because, my belief is that they view me as adversarial, and, even my own police chief is not trying to hear any of what I have to say. So anyway, it's all good. But okay, so that's who I am. That's who I am. And thank you to my new follower, my new subscriber for asking who am I? And if you want to know more about who I am, you can go to my website, sgt.CherylDorsey.com, and look around, spend some time. It's an amazing website. There's a lot of stuff that you can read. There are things that you can listen to. And more importantly, there's a place where you can go and buy my book, and then you'll know exactly who I am for those of you that want to know. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And now listen, let me kind of get started here. One of the things that I wanted to do was, I'm looking at my notes because I got a lot to say. Let me say this. I have a faithful subscriber on YouTube. I can't remember the screen name. I think it's a female. I'm not 100% sure based on the avatar that this person uses. And listen, we all have a style, a way about us, whether it's our speaking style or our writing style. Me too. And every week, you guys, you hear me talk, and sometimes I'm being silly, but most of the times I'm just being me, because that's what I do. And so when I talk about relationships and I talk about ethnicities, I refer to people who look like me as Black. And without fail, every week, my devoted, faithful YouTube subby loses their mind, and they tell me Black is a thing. We're not Black. We're indigenous people. And we go through this every week. And I very nicely and calmly have told this person that that's the way that I speak. And so I will be saying that probably again this broadcast. I will be referring to me and folks who look like me as Black. And I'm really hoping, YouTube subby, that you can find some peace about the way that I speak, because that's the way that I speak. And I'm not going to change the way that I speak. So I hope you can find some peace about it. First thing I want to do, I saw this on yesterday, and I am so excited. It was very difficult for me to wait 24 hours to share this with you, but Philadelphia. Hey, Tony, Philadelphia. I know you guys know, but I want to let the rest of the world know. On yesterday, there was a primary for sheriff in Philadelphia, and my very dear and good friend, Rochelle Ballew, won the primary. She's running for sheriff. And Michelle Ballew is a sister girl who looks like me. She speaks like me. She's been doing amazing, amazing work there in the community. And so Philadelphia, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I just want to say congratulations, Rochelle, girl. I am so excited for you. I am happy about that. And I am believing that come the fall, when you have this final vote taken for sheriff, that you will prevail. And so listen, Philly, I need you guys to show up in the fall. It's been reported that, there could be a person who may challenge her as an independent. And if this person challenges her, it could get dicey. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to share with you the information regarding the whole election on yesterday with Rochelle Ballew, so that you guys can get to know her and that you guys can support her. There were some instances when I did post things towards the end of last year, fundraisers and the like, and I'm sure that there will be some more of that going on. So please do, Philly, come out and support Rochelle Ballew for sheriff. If she is successful, when she is successful, she will be the very first Black female sheriff in Philadelphia. So make sure that you take a look at her credentials, take a look at what she's been doing over there. One of the things that Rochelle Ballew has been involved in is the Guardian Civic League. She is the president. And the Guardian Civic League is a group that represents Black police officers. She's also the secretary of the local NAACP chapter over there in Philadelphia. So She has been a great supporter of me. We have collaborated. We are also a part of an organization called the National Coalition of Law Enforcement Officers for Justice, Accountability, and Reform. And she's good people. And I'm excited, Rochelle. I will continue to put it out here on my platforms. Let me know anything that you need me to do, I will. So that's that. The also with regards to that whole election on yesterday, it's been reported by the mayor, or it's been reported nonetheless, not necessarily by the mayor, but it's been reported that the person that she was running against, someone by the name of Jewel Williams, and Jewel Williams is not conceding. So at some point, they're gonna have to give it up. But part and parcel, I think, as to why Rochelle did so well is because the mayor and some of the city council members over there had been asking for the sheriff, Jewel Williams, to resign. This person was involved in some salacious harassment, sexual harassment. I think it was 3 complaints filed against this person, and 2 of them have settled and 1 is pending. So I think that played a part in why folks are fed up over in Philadelphia with Sheriff Jewel Williams. But nonetheless, I take nothing for granted. And again, if there is no Republican opposition, then Rochelle Ballew should do well. But we can't count on that, Philly. So listen, I need you to get her done. Support Rochelle Ballew for sheriff over in Philadelphia. Now, okay, so let's see. Oh, okay. I'm gonna just talk about this real quick because it's hard for me not to poke the bear. I saw something. I talked about this before about my old bosses at LAUSD, and so I'm going to revisit it real quick because listen, it's amazing to me when folks treat people some kind of way, like officers who get the gift of resignation, officers who shoot and kill people, and they're given the gift of resignation, and they get to go and get hired by another police department. That kind of foolishness is not unique to the police department. That kind of stuff, foolishness is rewarded all over town. And so you've heard me talk about my former bosses, Frank Kabibi, who was involved in all kind of salacious allegations of inappropriate behavior, retaliation, sexual harassment. He was shown the door, forced to resign in lieu of, and because he lives to offend again, he skedaddled over to Amtrak and was hired over there as a senior investigator in the Los Angeles office. I'm not sure how long he's going to be a senior investigator in the Los Angeles office, but nonetheless, they hired him. And, listen, I had said all along that somebody who went from being the deputy inspector general at the LAUSD office of the inspector general, someone who was a supervisor, what do they call them? Special agent in charge, supervising special agent in charge, something like that, with the Department of Justice. And I think he also worked with the Department of Agriculture. And then he relegates himself to just want to be a senior investigator at Amtrak. That should have been a red flag. Amtrak should have looked, but they didn't. And so he lives to offend again. And I'm just putting it out there because Amtrak, the next time he sexually harasses somebody or uses the N-word like he's alleged to like to do, y'all gonna have some explaining to do, and you're gonna be culpable in that. Just like the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico will be culpable because they absorbed the inspector general who allowed Frank Kabibi to carry on and engage in that foolishness. Kenneth Bramlett was also shown the door. Board of Education didn't renew his contract. And so he went over to Albuquerque, New Mexico and lied, from what I can read, because he was touting these amazing things that he did here on the LAUSD when there's plenty of articles written by me, because that's what I do. And Kyle Stokes over at independent, what is it, SCRP or something like that, KPCC, I forget. But anyway, Kyle Stokes has written several articles about the shenanigans that were going on the 12th floor at the Beaudry building. And even with all of that, Amtrak didn't do their job. Albuquerque, New Mexico didn't do their due diligence. And so both of these guys got a job. And now I'm finding out that Vivian Ekjian, a deputy inspector general, the person who I refer to as a good soldier, who was also involved in them making me roadkill, is now poised and set to be the superintendent over in Glendale. For those of you in California, you understand that Glendale is an Armenian enclave, and Vivian Ekjian is Armenian. And I don't doubt for a minute that they're not going to make her their superintendent, because it would almost be like history making, right? But really, Glendale, really? You guys didn't do your due diligence either. So you guys saw the article that I wrote, and I called Vivian Ekchian a good soldier, and I told you why. I shared it on my Facebook timeline. But for my YouTube subbies who don't get the benefit of the links that I share on Facebook, just Google Vivian Ekchian, Ekchian, and you'll see how you get to, get away with murder when you don't look like me, right? So I'm going to continue to talk about it. Not going to go away in the good night quietly, because that's not what I do. You guys know I've shared with you. I'm getting ready for civil suit in July on the 18th. If they don't continue it for a fourth time, I'm ready to do battle. And, maybe they'll settle, maybe they won't. But if they don't settle, then they run the risk of me getting on stand and raising my hand and swearing under the penalty of perjury, some stuff that they probably don't want out there in the news. Because once I talk publicly about it, it's going to be out there for everybody to know. And so it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time, and I'm here for it. Now, over in Pasadena, I heard a story, and I wasn't familiar with this, but thank you, James, for sharing it with me. And you asked me my thoughts. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think about this incident in Pasadena, California. It's a young man by the name of Chris Ballew, who was engaged or involved in an incident in Pasadena. And let me just share with you the link for the Pasadena incident with Chris Ballew. I believe that this is soon to be litigated, if not already. And I heard about this story with Chris Ballew when I was speaking on last week with regards to AB 392 and why police officers really do need to, take a deep breath and de-escalate a situation when they have an opportunity to de-escalate a situation. Because what we see time and time again is we see officers creating a situation to use force. And then once they use the doggone force, the next thing you know, they're scared. They're scared, and now the force becomes not only physical, but it becomes deadly. And so, okay, James, civil trial date hasn't been set yet. Okay, but here's a story with Chris Ballew. So what happened was he was alleged to have been driving a car, and I don't think that there's any doubt about the fact that he was driving this car. It pulls up, white car pulls up in a gas station, and he gets out and he's walking in, and the officers immediately jam him up because they want to have a conversation with him about something. I don't know what the probable cause was for the detention initially. I don't know if he had tinted windows or no plate. Somehow I think that may have played a part in why they wanted to talk to him. But nonetheless, they approached him, and then you know what happened. It got real stupid because Chris Ballew was asking questions that they didn't want to answer. And the next thing you know, they were putting in work, right? And you know what I always tell you, when officers put hands on you, they can't just leave you. They got to arrest you for something. And so they came up with that something that they like to go to: resisting, assaulting an officer, interfering. It's usually one of those, right? They all kind of mean the same thing. And so they arrested Chris Ballew after they beat him with their baton, smashed his face into the ground. They charged him and released him on $50,000 bail. Now, you know what happened, right? It was a DA reject. Charges were dropped. So now there's a civil suit that's going on, and the judge in this case has allowed it to move forward because the judge says this: the officers were engaged in unlawful detention based on race. They used excessive force, falsified reports. You know they falsified the reports, right? Because they had to lie so they could give it to a supervisor who would approve that BS and book him on those charges for resisting, for interfering. So they falsified the reports. His bail, according to the judge, was excessive. And at the end of the day, the judge believed that the Pasadena police created those conditions that allowed the whole beating to happen in the first place. This is why AB 392 is so important, you guys, here in California. And listen, if AB 392 gets passed here in California, I believe it will have a snowball effect, and it will become law with regards to other states. 18,000 police departments around the nation. We need something like AB 392 on all 18,000. And while I'm telling you about this right now, there's another story, and a lady that I've come to know on Facebook, her son was involved in a situation where he was savagely beaten. I believe in Georgia. Cameron Brockington is the young man's name. Officers beat him savagely. I think they busted his orbital socket or something, and he wound up having some lasting injuries, significant injuries. And so I just heard from his mom. Monique, thank you so much for following up with me. Thank you so much for allowing me to share your story. The charges that were initially alleged against young Cameron, I think he was about 17 years old when it first happened, of course, were dropped. And now she too is moving forward with some kind of redress, if you will. And so, yeah, this is what police officers do. We hear it time and time again. And, they create reasons. Thanks, James. I'm seeing you're telling me now that the officer stopped him in Pasadena, Chris Ballew. I'm subject hopping. Chris Ballew was stopped for tinted windows, and it was the gang unit that stopped him because, gang unit officers, and I used to work it, white boys, when they see somebody black, well, you just automatically a gang member. If you ain't one, you know one. And that's good enough for them. So that was the pretext stop that they used to engage the young man over in Pasadena. They used a similar pretext stop when they engaged young Christopher over in Atlanta. And it was a rural area where he lives. Don't remember the department, don't remember the city, but Cameron Brockington is the young man's name. And if you want to know more about that, you can Google the story. And I will continue as his mom allows me to share their journey with you. I will. Now, let me talk a little bit about AB 392 as I update you on these uses of force. Thankfully, these didn't end in a death, but nonetheless, AB 392 is winding down. And so listen, the ACLU has created a hotline for the California family. And if you don't know who your assembly member is, I'm going to give you the number. Be prepared to write it down in just a second or two. And of course, if you don't have your hand on a pencil because you're drinking water and hydrating yourself, you can always come back to the video at another time and you can get this number. And do tell a friend. Here's the number, area code 855-644-2258. And it's very important that you call this number, 855-644-2258, ACLU Hotline. And all you have to do is leave a message. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You can call tonight just before you go to bed. You can call in the morning, right when you wake up. And the reason that it's important to call is because they're going to be counting the number of calls that constituents make. So when you call this hotline, you will be directed based on the area code where you live to the assembly member that is in your district, for those of you who don't know. But I'm also going to share with you some names of some district members that either are still on the fence or maybe thinking about voting against AB 392. And the ACLU, myself, Kendrick Sampson from Bill Power, Mike De La Roca from Revolve Impact, the young men that I did that PSA with about 2 weeks ago. All of us are encouraging and wanting you to contact the following assembly members. Ian Calderon. Ian Calderon is in the 57th district, and that's the gateway cities and portions of San Gabriel Valley. Also Jesse Gabriel in the 45th district, which is a portion of West San Fernando Valley. Adrian Nazarian, 46th district, and that covers central and southern San Fernando Valley. And then Richard Bloom. Richard Bloom is the assemblyman for the 50th district, and the 50th district covers West LA, Beverly Hills, Topanga, Pacific Palisades, Hancock Park, Bel Air, West Hollywood, Brentwood, Malibu, Agora. Yeah, that's Richard Bloom's area. So again, call the ACLU hotline at 855-644-2258. Find the assembly person in your area, and you can do that based on the area code for where you live. And listen, because I know, everybody has cell phones, right? And we got area codes, to come back to DC when we right here locally. But you give them the area code for the area that you live in. And if you live in any of the areas that I just called out for those 4 particular assembly members, please, please, please do call. They are counting telephone calls, and that will make a tremendous difference. So need you to do that. Call to action, please do. I don't come to you guys every week with stuff that's going on and just to make you mad and fuss. I'm coming because sometimes there's stuff we can do. And so we really need to do that. So I need you to do it. YouTube subbies, it's a call to action for you too. I need you to get involved and get engaged. I talked some time ago about a situation over in Colorado. I'm going to give you a series. There's about 3 or 4 police departments, right, y'all? Because they're the gift that keep on giving. And so there's some updates now about some things that went on. Do you remember the young man, black guy who was in front yard picking up trash in Colorado? He went to a local university, and I think the housing may have even been on the university campus, but nonetheless, he was picking up trash, and a police officer saw him picking up trash and somehow thought he shouldn't be living there. He had no right to be there. And so he created a situation to engage this young man, tried to exacerbate it, make it worse, and escalated it to a use of force, and accused this young man of having some kind of a weapon. And it was the little grabber for picking up trash, and he was putting it into a little receptacle. That was the dangerous weapon. But nonetheless, this officer, whose name is John Smiley, Colorado, he resigned. Sounds like they were going to fire him. And, he did, what cowards do, is he resigned before they could get that whole administrative situation resolved and fire him, is what it sounds like to me, for confronting Zayed Atkinson. That was the young black man who was picking up trash in his front yard when he was approached by John Smiley. And it was determined that this officer, former officer now, John Smiley, Smyly is the way he spells his last name. He violated 2 department policies. Now, they're saying they couldn't substantiate that this was racial. Oh, you police chiefs. They couldn't substantiate that it was based on race. It was based on race, y'all. But nonetheless, they went after Smiley, and so he saw the writing on the wall, and like cowards do, he hit the eject button. Now, what's interesting about that, and I don't know how the heck he's doing this. I don't know what y'all do in Colorado. It's reported in the news that this dude is going to remain on the payroll until February 2020. I don't know if he's going on extended sick time, vacation. How do you be found guilty of department policy violations, are forced to resign in lieu of termination, yet they keep you on the payroll for 6 months? I've never heard of such a thing. But anyway, that's what's going on over there in Colorado. Also in Arlington, Texas, I talked to you before about this. The officer Bob Tran, who was responsible for the shooting death of O'Shea Terry. Remember, O'Shea Terry was on the side of the road smoking a joint allegedly with some friends. I think it was a female officer who confronted him, but then she got all nervous and scared. So she called for backup, and this male officer, Bob Tran, shows up. Well, remember, I think it was last week I told you guys that Bob Tran had been indicted for the murder of O'Shea Terry. Well, now that he's been indicted, Arlington Police Department has fired him. Thankfully, not the gift of resignation. They fired him. And there's going to be a trial at some point that I'll keep you apprised of and let you know how that goes. I'm going to switch reels a little bit because, I told you before, this stuff, it weighs on me, and it's a lot. I can't just come to you and talk about police, beating up Black folks and killing Black folks and getting away with it. So I'm just going to add a little levity, although it's probably not levity because, I'm going to be talking about some celebrity news that's trending. Some folks lost some jobs. Well, one folk lost some jobs. I'm talking about Steve Harvey. For those of you who haven't seen and don't know, Steve Harvey is being replaced on Little Big Shots by, I believe it's Melissa McCarthy. And then he's also, his show, Steve, which used to be called the Steve Harvey Show, but his show Steve is being replaced and Kelly Clarkson is going to get that time spot. Now, it was reported that, Steve Harvey looks like he ruffled some feathers over there at NBC because what happened was, real quick, is that he had a 5-year deal with Endemol. And when it ended in 2016, Steve opted out of his contract and he cut a deal with IMG. IMG is producing this new show, and that's why they changed the name from Steve Harvey to Steve. And in IMG producing this new show, Steve asked for and received a larger ownership stake in the show and a higher salary. Ooh wee. Yeah, that wasn't the look they were going for. So because he was getting a larger ownership stake, higher salary, he wanted more creative control over the production. And then there was rumors and allegations that IMG, who is it says the corporate sibling to WME, because of their relationship, there was a contract. Because of their relationship, there was a conflict. And so NBC Universal executives, they were not happy about Steve taking this big chunk of change, I guess, that they were used to getting. So in my Bonita Betrayal voice, I ain't one to gossip and you didn't hear it from me, but they showed him the door. So that's what happened in that whole Steve Harvey thing. And listen, there's links out there. You can Google it if you want to know. Sometimes, you guys, I tell you things and then I'll put up a link and then I'll have, my Facebook family say, well, what happened to Steve? And I'm like, really? You can't just click on the link and read it? I got to chew the food up and spit it in your mouth like a bird. Come on, y'all. Read this stuff. Don't just take my word or anybody else's word when you hear a thing. Do your own research so that so that you can speak intelligently about it, and y'all can quit sharing those RIP posts for Lena Horne passing. Because she died like a decade ago, and y'all, it's just amazing to me. I'm still seeing folks share this Lena Horne thing and putting rest in peace. So come on, sheeple, do your homework, do your due diligence, know what you're talking about before you put it up on your timeline. Because listen, I'm laughing about it, but this is a serious issue because we got an election coming up. And I think that's how the Russians were able to create so much division and so much foolishness because they were pretending to be us. They were creating websites and social media accounts here, there, and everywhere, and pretending to look like, activists in our community. And yeah, don't let that happen again in 2020, you guys. Know what you're sharing before you share it. Also, so this is going on too. And listen, I'm gonna just tiptoe around this, but you guys know about cousin Angela, right? and the minister, Farrakhan. And yeah, she didn't just put her toe in it. She stepped all the way in it. And then she did the hokey pokey. She said some stuff in the last few days on some kind of a podcast that she did with Charlemagne the God. And she was trying to tell the minister, what he needs to do and how he needs to do it. And I don't know, maybe she didn't get the memo, but Minister Farrakhan, that's a completely grown man who's been around, doing what he does for a long, long time. And so now I think she's doing a mea culpa. It may be too late. I think for sure, young folks, millennials, and certainly the nation is done in a real way with cousin Angela. So that's going on. And then also one more celebrity story. I'm going to touch on R. Kelly, but right now, Wendy Williams, in the midst of a divorce, many of you know, her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, is estimated to be worth about $7.5 million, but Wendy's worth 40. So he's he's doing, what women do to men, right? He's trying to get child support and spousal support, and yeah, he wants the homie hookup. And so it's probably going to be a very contentious and ugly battle. But Wendy wants everybody to know that she's good. She's enjoying her new bachelor pad. She says she's a single woman running around the streets of New York, and that she is rediscovering her love of men, whatever that means. So go ahead, Stella. Go ahead and get that groove back, girl. I ain't mad at you. Also, I don't really do politics, but I'm gonna just talk about this because listen, I am here for it. You guys know little Tink Tink is losing his mind about these taxes. And remember when Obama was the president and he had this pick for the Supreme Court, and Mitch McConnell, Turtle Boy, wouldn't allow the pick to go forward. He held it up for 2 years, and then when Tink Tink came on, he gave it to Gorsuch. Well, there was a ruling on a couple of days ago where a judge by the name of Mehta, Judge Amit Mehta, and Amit Mehta ruled on Tink Tink's taxes. And listen, they're not playing with him. The judge said, we're not going to take all day with this. I'm going to hear your case, and I'm going to rule the same day. And he did, and he ruled against little Tink Tink and said, yeah, we about to get that speculum. Yeah, we're going to be real friendly when this thing is all said and done, sir. We're going to know everything we need to know about you and the taxes. So now little Tink Tink is appealing the judge's ruling. And so the ruling is now going to be heard, I think it was today. So when I get done with you guys, I'm going to have to slide over to MSNBC and see what Rachel Maddow's talking to, because that's where I get my news. She tells me exactly what's going on without all the white noise in the background. But nonetheless, today, the appeal went to Judge Merrick Garland. Judge Merrick Garland was Obama's pick for the Supreme Court that Turtle Boy held up. So he's the one that little Tink Tink is going to, saying, please, sir, make them put that speculum away. And it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure that Judge Merrick Garland is going to be a professional, but because he didn't get that Supreme Court position, he is now going to be the deciding factor about whether or not they open up the speculum a little bit or a lot. I'm going to say they're going to open it up a lot. And so I'm here for it. And I am just wired for sound that, everything happens the way it's supposed to. Every now and again, the universe, it just writes itself. And so listen, I say, if you F with the bull, you get the horns. Yeah, that's what's about to happen. Over let me see, where did this happen? Remember the shooting at the Kroger? My next story, shooting at the Kroger. A white guy walked into the Kroger and shot 2 black shoppers, a gentleman by the name of Maurice Stollard, who was 69 years old, and another lady by the name of Vicki Lee Jones, 67, that was back on October 24th of last year. Well, this person is now been deemed to be incompetent. In other words, he's playing crazy. So he's been deemed incompetent. And they're going to have they're going to schedule another hearing, because that may change that he's incompetent to stand trial. And if that does, then of course, then he will stand trial. But they're going to be giving him some tests and all of that. And the next hearing for his competency is going to be on July the 24th. So if he is found competent to stand trial for the murder of those 2 people, he will be charged with a federal hate crime. He's also facing double charges of murder, wanton endangerment, and another additional charge of attempted murder, because I guess after the attack at the Kroger, he went over to some church nearby, predominantly black church, was trying to get inside, and unsuccessfully, thankfully. But anyway, that thing is winding its way through the system. And so as that continues to happen, I'll keep you posted. Hey, James, listen, thanks for thanks for being so engaged with me tonight. I was going to talk about this at some point, and so let me just go ahead and do it now. Have you guys seen that video with the 12-year-old kid up in Sacramento? Oh, Northern California, Sacramento. I'm talking to my family on the ground up there, Sacramento, Ballew, California, Fresno, ooh-wee. They are not playing with Black people up there. There was a 12-year-old kid who was chased from a carnival, I think the way the story went. This 12-year-old kid was chased and by a security guard. Now listen, I'm not saying every security guard is crazy, but most security guards are crazy because they want to be cops. And so this guy was chasing this 12-year-old kid who's, I think they said he's 4'11", probably 80 pounds, 85 pounds, soaking wet with his shoes on for what we don't know. And at some point, the local police over there in Sacramento got involved, and then it just got real stupid. Now, listen, this little kid was saying and doing things that, at 12 years old, he should not have been saying and doing. But that's what kids do. He was bothered. There was a young man who was recording the entire incident, and the kid was kind of feeding off this young man and repeating some of the things that he was saying, which caused the officers to get extra aggressive. And there were two females, and I'm like, really, ladies, really? These two chicks were grabbing and manhandling this little boy. At some point, you see on the video where they put their feet and their knees in his back as they pin him down to the ground. He's 85 pounds, ladies. Come on now. The hell? And then they wound up putting a plastic bag over this kid's head because they accused him of spitting. And so they put this, they call it a spit sock. They came up with some name for this thing that they put over this kid's head. And the video's gone viral. I don't know what's going to happen because, listen, Chief Hahn up there, he's got his hands full. I don't know if he knows, really what to do with all this going on. And to be honest with you, listen, I'm not trying to paint a broad brush with police chiefs. I don't know if he's giving you guys up in Sacramento lip service about wanting to do the right thing and then, doing something else because, what has happened with the two officers that shot Stephon Clark administratively? We know criminally nothing's happened. What did he do with those two administratively? And now you have two females tackling an 85-pound 12-year-old and putting a plastic bag over his head. I don't know what Chief Hahn is going to do about that. Yeah, Debbie, they did put a bag over his head. There's a video that shows that. And I think it's in my list. I'm jumping ahead, but I will put that story up so you can see the video if you haven't already. So that's what's going on up there in Sacramento. So expect to hear more about that incident as we hear more about the Willie McCoy incident, young man who was shot in the drive-thru at the Taco Bell in Vallejo. And then, of course, Stephon Clark's situation in AB 392. Lots going on in Northern California. The other video that went viral last week that many of us have seen and have been shocked by is the Houston police officer who shot and killed a mentally ill woman, a grandmother, and her name is Pamela Wright. Now, listen, it's been reported that there was some history. I always say this, generally officers, listen, we work in an area, you live in an area. Most times there's history with police officers and folks who they deal with. And I think a lot of times, just my opinion, that officers, especially men, get personally invested and they take it as an affront. When you don't come here, when you don't turn around, when you don't put your cigarette out, when you don't submit to being handcuffed, when you try to drive off because they stopped you for having no front plate on your car, Sam DeBose, Mike Brown, don't get out of the street, Eric Garner won't turn around, right? They take it personally. And so then they want to punish you. Thus, contempt of cop, the term that I have trademarked and that I use that explains what happens when an officer gets pissed off. And so I think over there in Houston, this officer that was dealing with Pamela Turner, his name is Juan de la Cruz. He's an 11-year veteran on the department, currently on administrative leave, but there was history. He knew this woman. It was reported that they even live in the same building. So there was definite history. Her family says that he harassed her all the time and they were trying to get her to move out or assist her in relocating, but that didn't happen. Pamela Turner was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic and has been so diagnosed since 2005. So he knew exactly who she was and who he was dealing with. Her cousin, Pamela Turner's cousin, her name is Antoinette Dorsey James, says that in the last 4 months, Turner had been harassed by De La Cruz 10 different times. in that very same apartment complex. So what was the urgency? What was the urgency? There was none. Seldom is there any exigent circumstance that precludes an officer from freeze frame, get back up, have the resources that you need to take someone into custody, to actually control them, contain them, rather than punish them. He punished her. He punished her, and the price was her life. So we'll see what happens over in Houston with Officer Juan de la Cruz. Now, I don't know what's going on over there in Houston because they just lost their police chief too, right? His name is Joel Fitzgerald. Joel Fitzgerald is a Black man. And I don't know if he forgot. Because, you know, I always say, listen, y'all can act like you don't know if you want to, but they will remind you, right? And so Joel Fitzgerald, before he was the police chief over in Houston, he was the police chief over in Allentown, and he was cutting up over there in Allentown. He was making all kind of proclamations and declarations about what a great job he was doing, and somehow Houston didn't pick up on that, and they hired him anyway. And what else was going on with him most recently is that he was trying to get over on Baltimore. He was Marilyn Pugh, the mayor, who might have forgot she was Black too, because she's gone. But Mayor Marilyn Pugh was trying to slide this guy through the system and get him in the back door as the police commissioner over in Baltimore. And the city council was having none of that. So, you know, they were talking about some of the things that he had been involved in. And so he quickly pulled his name out of the hat and said, you know what, I'm good. I'm just going back over to Houston, and I'm gonna just kind of hang out there for a little bit. Well, that was until, you know, last week. He went to DC, and they have every year in DC the Police National Week, I believe, was going on in DC. But before he went to the Police National Week festivities, he had got into a pissing contest with one of the presidents over there on the, it's called the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas. He got into an argument because they kicked him off when they found out he wasn't even a member. He wasn't even a member of the Fort Worth's local police union. And so therefore he was not eligible to be a part of this association. So they kicked him off, and I guess he was pissed off with the president of the union, right? So now these two knuckleheads are in DC. It almost sounds like they were about to have like a cage match, right? They're in DC and they get into this, you know, whatever, you know, thing that, you know, cops do, what? And they said that Fitzgerald was being disrespectful. He was unprofessional, and with everything else that was going on with him, you know, you can't go to the National Police Week Awards dinner and get into a damn argument, almost a fist fight with the union president from your department. Who does that? So, because they said, we've had enough, sir. They told him, it's time for you, sir, to find a new church home. He was being unprofessional. He denies it. And he said, really, you know what? I don't really have anything to say. I'm going to just see me in court is what's going to happen. So as that happens, I'll continue to keep you apprised of what's going on. So they have someone who's acting chief right now. But this Mr. Fitzgerald, he is funny to me. He's only 48 years old. So, you know, I'm saying only 48, right? Because, like, you know, I know that, you know, men, you know, you guys don't quite develop like us girls. And so maybe he's just, you know, not dealing with a fully developed brain yet. And that's why he's over there fighting people and carrying on and, you know, I'm going to say it like that, right? You know what I mean, LAPD family, right? When you give a person that look from across the room, yeah. You can't do that at National Police Week. And listen, I had read some articles that there was other shenanigans. There were other shenanigans going on. You know, police officers, they're there all in full dress and, you know, trying to look official and authoritative. And, you know, I read somewhere, I don't know which department. I don't know if it was NYPD that was laughing when they shouldn't have been laughing or something. Anyway, it sounds like National Police Week in DC is like prom night for the police. You just go and show up and just act a damn fool year after year. So anyway, yeah, that got Joe Fitzgerald in a little bit of trouble, and so now he's gone. Another, let me just look at this real quick because I see something someone said to me and I want to read it. Fabian, you said I should have my own cable network venue show. Stand woke for the people. I appreciate that. Appreciated you put in the work. Are you certain you can call this retirement? Yeah, Fabian, it's retirement because listen, I get to do this when I want. And so yeah. And this is fun. You know what they say. If you love what you do, then it's not work, right? It doesn't feel like work if you love what you do. So yeah, I am retired and this is fun. And listen, I'm gonna just say this before I go to my next story, because I didn't realize how much fun this was gonna be. And that's why in the beginning, I thank my podcast producer, Kay Rose, because I was really fighting it. And I didn't think anybody really wanted to hear what I had to say or was concerned about what I thought. Until I started telling you what I thought. And so you guys are the wind beneath my wing. You guys give me wings. Let me see, what other stupid cliche can I say? I appreciate you. And I do what I do because I care. I do what I do because I am, oh, Michael, you're cleaning out the garage and listening to me. You're multitasking. I appreciate you. I do what I do because there are other people who speak like me, who are police officers, current and former, current and retired. But, we're spread out and we seem to have been relegated to a corner somewhere where they want us and our message to not be known. And so that is why I do what I do. So if you really, really appreciate me and you like what I do and you want to help me, help you, help us, like this broadcast, share this broadcast, hashtag tell a friend. YouTube subbies, like it on YouTube. And listen, Facebook, are y'all on YouTube? Do you have a YouTube account? Because you can go over to YouTube and create an account. It don't cost you nothing. And like me over there as well. I really appreciate it because, this whole digital thing and algorithms, all of that has something to do with my videos popping up in places where other people just happen to see them and didn't even know that I existed. I get that all the time on YouTube. People say, oh, I saw your video pop up. I didn't even know that you were there. You guys, we've been at this for about an hour, and guess what? I haven't had to wipe my nose, but here we go. So anyway, my next story that I wanted to tell you about is it's over in Mississippi. There's a white police officer who has been charged with murdering this Black woman. She's 32 years old. And this wasn't a use of force situation per se. There was a relationship between this officer in Mississippi and this Black woman, mother of 4 in Oxford, Mississippi. Not a whole lot of details about it right now because the investigation is, new. Probably some stuff that, they know, but they haven't shared with us yet. So I'll keep my ear to the ground. But Dominique Clayton is the 32-year-old mother of 4 in Oxford, Mississippi, who was murdered inside her home. And she was found by her children. I don't know what happened, but there's a personal relationship between this woman, and I will share with you the link so that you can see this story if you're not familiar with it over in Oxford, Mississippi. So, you guys, that's it. That's all I have for you. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I really want to thank those of you who were texting with me and having some dialogue with me, if you will. I want to thank my Facebook family who, who are waiting at the door for me and who come and tell me when it's like 5:02, hey, Sergeant Dorsey, we're here, we're waiting. I appreciate you guys looking out for me and being anxious about what it is that I'm going to say and share with you. So you guys, that's it. Visit my website, sgtcheryldorsey.com. Subscribe to my podcast platform on the platform of your choice, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. When you stop by my website, take a look at my books. Read the first chapters in both of my books on my website. Give you a little bit of an idea about what it is that I'm doing in each of the volumes that are available for you to purchase. You can purchase it also on my website. If anybody has a relationship with any organizations who have young people that would benefit from hearing from a veteran police officer in a major metropolitan police department who looks like them, who wants to encourage them to get on that police department because change is going to come from the inside, who wants to make sure that you know what to do when you are stopped by the police so that you survive that police encounter, you can certainly contact me on my website, or any of you can contact me at my Gmail account, sergeantdorseyspeaks@gmail.com. Hit me up. If there's a story you want to know what I think about it, if you have a situation that you or a family member or a friend is involved in with a police department and you're not really quite sure of the course of action you should be taking, sergeantdorseyspeaks@gmail.com, and I will respond to you. I don't have handlers. I'm not big enough for that yet, but listen. Maybe after tomorrow, you guys, because remember, I asked 2 or 3 of you to stand in agreement with me tomorrow, Thursday. I will be going for the final interview, chemistry interview, it's being called, for this TV show that's going to be on a major network. And I am one of the participants being considered. So I need 2 or 3 of you to stand in agreement with me tomorrow. And listen, you'll know when things went well, because next week when I come to you, if you just see me sitting here, I don't have a throne, but if you just see me sitting here and I have a scepter and a crown, you'll know that it happened, right? That's what I tell my kids, because they know I'm silly. And I tell my kids, I used to joke when I first wrote my book and say, once I get on Oprah's Book of the Month Club, or, do some amazing thing that's going to catapult me, into the hemisphere. I told my kids, when you just see me walking through the house with my robe, my scepter, we don't talk anymore. I'm done talking to you because, I've arrived. So. Next week, look for me with my look for me to be on here with my scepter and crown next week, you guys. So listen, this has been fun. Hope you guys paced yourself appropriately. Hope you stayed properly hydrated. I will see you guys next week. We do this every Wednesday on Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, Facebook Live at 5 p.m. East Coast, 8 p.m. 5 p.m. Pacific West Coast, 8 p.m. East Coast, every Wednesday. Facebook Live at 5. For my YouTube subbies, I will always come to you at the end of my Facebook Live, upload and share with you my broadcast. And for everybody, YouTube and Facebook, like, subscribe, and check out my podcast, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, new content every Tuesday. Till next week, you guys, you know what's up, right? Be good. Be safe.